Hello guys, on today's tutorial I'll be sharing with you all how to set up a subscription flow with Stripe. Let's get right into it. Let's just begin with this simple authentication. By the way, don't follow this setup. This is just for the tutorial. This is just a basic login without any type of security here. So I'm just going to add my my email here. This is the first step. I will log in. Why do we need to log in? Obviously, you need to have an authenticated user in order to create a subscription. Next step is we are going to create let me just show you the flow here. I will just go through the process and then we will go step by step, platform by platform. We will take a look to Webflow, we will take a look into Wized, Xano, and Stripe. So now I can just save my credit card details here. By the way, my setup, the Stripe API documentation is really flexible, guys. It's really, really flexible. I'm just showing you, this process, but I'm just allowing you as well to, create your own flows, obviously following the proper structure, because this can really change depending on the needs that you have from your web application. But this is kind of what I'm doing here. So pretty much I did a setup checkout session. I then attached the payment method to the user. And now we have the data right here. This has been rendered. Pretty cool. And now, as you can see, I'm not subscribed, and I just have this button literally that says subscribe. And now I don't need to pass any type of, I don't need to go to the Stripe anymore. And I'm automatically subscribed because I already have my credit card details saved. Pretty cool. Obviously, you guys might want to have some, type of model here of confirmation, or you guys might have some multiple plans for your subscription. As I said, I'm just, showing you how it's possible to set up a Stripe. And, the Stripe documentation is really flexible, so you can achieve different ways to do this. So now this is how, this is the end result. I will show you now how it's set up on Webflow. Let's begin with Webflow. So let me just show you. We have just 3 pages just to make it simpler. We have a form here. I won't go into detail here. We have a form. We have a submit button. I have an attribute on the form, and I have an attribute on the button. Not here on the input. Once again, we have another submit form, even though we don't have any fields. And last thing is, once again, we have another form here. And once again, a submit button. We have the attribute once again on the form and as well on the button. And we have div blocks here that I'm rendering according to how many credit card details you have saved in your account. We're just, dynamically updating this information. And then we just have an element here that says you're not subscribed, and we are just changing this based on, on the database, if you're subscribed or not, or as well the request whenever you run it. If it's successful, we will automatically change this without. So let me just show you the setup on Xano before I continue here. I won't go into detail for now, but I just want to show you the setup. Don't take a look to all of these tables because this is not part of the development. The only table that I'm looking at is right now user. And as well, we have just a boolean that says subscribe, and it's been set to be true. Obviously, this can be set up differently, guys. We can have multiple ways to set it up. Like this could be an enum, and we can have like multiple types of subscriptions. We can even have a table here called subscriptions or plans. We can as well reference those plans, and those plans can have multiple different logic. And there's different ways to set this up. I'm just showing you a really extremely basic example of a subscription. So, okay, let's continue. Once apart of that, we are using pretty much 5 and 1 extra endpoint here. So no, 2 extra endpoints. So we are using, for this example, 7 endpoints. These don't really matter. This is pretty much for the login, and this is just loading the user. And these are the important ones. By the way, I don't know why this is set as a draft. Let me just publish this. I could have reverted that, but that's fine. And let me just show you how this is working. So the first step is we log in with this endpoint. We load the user then on the next page, because after we log in, we are redirected to the second step. We load the user then, and after we have loaded the user, then we go through the checkout setup. By the way, as I said, there's different ways to build this. Stripe has a really open documentation, and is probably the best documentation for any type of, it's just the documentation for Stripe is just fantastic. So I have here as a checkout setup step. This is just a checkout session on a setup mode. I won't go into detail for now. Pretty much we're just setting the success URL, mode setup, currency, reference ID. The client reference ID is coming from the record of the user, of the ID or the user database. Customer creation, always, we're just sending, the Stripe secret key here. Okay. By the way, I will share obviously all the snippets with you guys so you guys can have it. Really important here, guys. It's this could be set up differently. We could have set up a subscription checkout session because normally that's what you guys will do. In this scenario, I just want to save or set up the credit card details of the user so they can subscribe later, because I want to have that flexibility. I want to first store the credit card details of the users on a Stripe, and then after I have this is like an Uber solution, right? You will store the payment method, you will attach the payment methods to a certain user, and then they can select which payment method they want to use, and they can pay for the ride. So it's pretty much what I'm doing here. As I said, the flows for your web application needs could be different. So after we have kind of like set up the credit card details, we are listening to the webhook. So we send data to Stripe and then respond to us on a webhook. Here, so we will get the data. Pretty much we will edit the user. We will set up the customer ID here in our user database. As you can see, we're setting the Stripe customer ID here. Then we're getting the setup indent that we get from the webhook to get the payment method. Why do we need the payment method ID? Because we need to attach the payment method to the customer ID on Stripe. So as you can see, we are here literally attaching the payment method here to the user, to the customer. And after that, we are setting that payment method as default for the customer. Why do we need to set it as default? Because if we want to make an automated charge to the user, they need to have a payment method by default. By the way, some, applications like Amazon, you can set this up to have a default credit card, but obviously the idea is to be flexible. Right now, as I said, this is a really basic example, so I'm just setting the one that they add by default as of the payment method. But obviously, this should be more flexible than what I'm doing right here. So now let's just continue. After we have received back that data, and our user now has a customer Stripe ID, we have attached the payment method to the user. Now we can have we can go to the last step, and it's just subscribe. Literally, we're just created a subscription here. We're attaching it to the customer Stripe ID, and obviously we need to have a product, right, to subscribe to on Stripe. And I will show you as well the Stripe setup in a minute. So we're creating a subscription. Once we create that subscription, or then we as well receive the response from Stripe on another endpoint. This is a webhook once again. According to the webhook, by the way, this is only receiving successful subscriptions. So obviously, if it came through this flow, it definitely means that I was subscribed successfully. And then we're just getting from here the customer ID that we have referenced well in our table, in our Xano database, and we are being subscribed. I will pause the video for a second here. I'm receiving a call. I will get right back into the tutorial. Okay, guys. So this is pretty much the setup that we have, right? After we are, subscribed, we will just receive the data from the webhook. Once again, we will just set the subscribe button to be true. And we will, as I said, we will reference the customer by the customer ID that we have set up already on Stripe, on Xano. So we have that. Okay, pretty cool. This is how Xano is set up. Now let's go into Stripe. What are we doing here on Stripe? So let me just show you. So first of all, we have, let me just go to product catalog here. So as you can see, we have only one product. By the way, you guys should have here multiple types of subscriptions. Probably this can be yearly subscriptions, monthly subscriptions, different type of prices. And we should probably have, if you guys have multiple types of subscriptions, you should probably have like a table in Xano with all these type of plans. Or I guess we could make as well a request to Stripe directly from Wized probably to just render all the possible subscription plans. But yeah, as I said, there's quite a few ways to set this up. But yeah, let's continue. So by the way, it's fine to store, for example, the product ID on a Stripe related to, a type of subscription, but it's never send delicate information like credit card details or payment method IDs. Like we should store that only on a Stripe. That's what Stripe is for. And that's why we're using this flow that is PCI compliant, because we can as well use Stripe elements and have like a special token and then set that token directly to Stripe with the credit card details. But just to keep it really simple, we're just following this step with the checkout session setup, where you are, after that, we're just storing the payment method ID into our user on a Stripe. But let's just now show you how we set up. I can probably delete everything here. I will do that. Okay, guys, so let's begin with the authentication, this dummy authentication. So let's just do it. So we have an auth token here that is only requesting for the email. This is a get request. So we will do that. So this will be, I will add it here in the Stripe folder. I didn't delete the folders, by the way. Let's just do login, right? Let's just call it login. By the way, always call the request with lowercase letters and underscore for the spaces. That's just my suggestion. Here, return, just paste the last part of the endpoint. By the way, this is our base endpoint right here, Wized tutorials. So I'm not changing that. And now, yeah, let's continue here. So let's just do get. We're not sending anything for URL parameters. This will be, oh no, yeah, we're sending the email, right? Email, and then we can say return, and we have the form email right here. Cool. And now let's just run this. James, Produlis. Oh, by the way, I don't have a sign up. I just realized that. So by the way, I'm just sending a dummy user right here. By the way, I should delete this. So as you can see, I just have a dummy user here. And that's it. This is just for testing. This is just for a tutorial. So now if I just run this, because the login button is not set up yet, this is just a Webflow submission that I need to disable. So before I even trigger it, let's just do it. So let's select the folder Stripe setup one. Let's just do, probably should be in the auth file, but I just will remove this auth. I will just call it step one. Let's just call it. Now here for the actions, it's fine to just call them with uppercase letters and lowercase. This is completely fine. Login user. Element. Form. This is, what's the attribute that I set here? Step one. Yep, step one. I didn't even call it form. I should have done that. On events, submit. Prevent default, because we don't want to submit that to Webflow. Then we're going to perform a request, and it's going to be login. Yep. And now, if, by the way, before we even keep going, we just have to, let's say, loading state here. Let's just do step one button, set class. By the way, I have a class called isLoading in Webflow. By the way, I didn't show you that Webflow setup, right? So it's pretty straightforward. We just have forms here, literally. These are just forms. We have an attribute into the forms and into the buttons. So that's pretty much it, like really basic. An attribute here into the button. This is, well, once again, a form without even inputs. And these are just dblocks that I'm rendering. I'm just changing the values here. Every single element that we're dynamically updating with Wized has an attribute. And then here as well, it's just a text that says you're not subscribed that will be changed dynamically according to your status. Let's continue. So let's return the class is loading. Return if login is requesting. So right now it false, that's why we don't have the class is loading. But now if I just do james@produlis.com, I run it. I got a response probably. If I take a look to it, yeah, I got the data back. I got a response successfully. So we want to do a conditional here after request. After request, event request has finished. Login conditional return if login status equals to 100. I just want to keep it really simple here. Normally you will say has requested, but obviously it has requested because request finishes here is triggering that. So the main thing is the status is 200. And then we want to probably set a cookie. I have already created a cookie auth token, and we are going to return the data we just got back from the login. And then after that, we just want to navigate the user to the next page. Oh. And yeah, what's the next page? It's, let me just take a look into Webflow here. Just copy that, return. Yeah, let's just, okay, cool. So if this is successful, we'll be navigated to this. Oh, I don't know if I copied. Yeah, we should be good. Let's just go back here. Come on, take me back. Cool. Let's just do here, just authenticate myself, log in. Fantastic, I'm on the page number 2. Cool, first step done. By the way, I don't want to, let me just show you the API endpoint that we just triggered. This is the auth token, send the email, get a record from the user, and then get the auth token from that specific user ID. Cool. By the way, don't ever do this. This is just a dummy test. This is not a proper login. You're not really authenticating anything. You're just sending an email. But there should be something else. Like I could, there are some passwordless authentications where you will receive an email, with a special token, and then you can set that up and be logged in. That's a proper flow there. Now let's continue. Now the next step is add payment method. What's the next step here? So what API endpoint I'm triggering is Stripe checkout setup. We're not sending any inputs. We're just sending the auth token of this user. So once again, let me just check if it's a post request. It is. Let's just call it checkout session. By the way, always use underscore checkout session setup. Just call it like this. Return, replace this right here. Post request. Let's remove the email. This will be authorization. Return. By the way, you can on Wized. Once again, I have said this before. You can return directly the auth token, but this is the proper way to do it. Bearer, or this is how Postman will want you to do it. Bearer plus the auth token. We need a space after bearer. Okay, cool. We have that. And that's it. If I run this, I should get a response back. So you can see we got a successful response probably. Yep, 200. And now we have our result URL that we should redirect the user to after they have run this request successfully. So let's do that. Before I continue, I want to show you that, we are setting up a success URL here in this endpoint. I won't go too much into detail here because there's a lot to cover. Pretty much this is a setup. We are setting the success URL to be the Wized tutorials. By the way, this should not be set directly here. This should be a dynamic variable here, environment variable, sorry. The reason why you want to set it as environment variable is just because you obviously, whenever you go live, you want to change that, there and not here. You don't want to go into each API endpoint and change it statically here. It doesn't make sense. You guys should have like a variable here called success redirect Stripe URL, right? With the data here. That will make sense. But yeah, I will just continue for now. Okay, so we have that. Let's just continue. So now actions. Let's go to step 2. let's call it redirect. Or no, how do we call it after request login user? Let's just do request checkout. Yep. Folder Stripe2 element. Is it called step 2? Nope. Save payment button. Is it not a form? Yeah, save payment form. Yeah. Event submit. No, we don't want to reset anything. We don't even have inputs here. Perform a request, checkout session. Cool. First step done. Now, loading state. Loading state. Save payment button. Set class, once again, is loading. And let's return the state right here. Is requesting. Fantastic. Now, next step. Redirect or after request. After request. Event request. Request finishes. Checkout session conditional. Return. If the request has been successful, obviously, equals 200. You can even set 3 equals. You guys should know this, right? 3 equals completely the same. 2 equals, it could be like whenever your reference is false values, null values, empty values, like an empty array could be the same that a null value. Or yeah, pretty much like that. Or even 0, whenever you use 2 equals. But whenever you say 3 equals, if you are waiting for an array or expecting like the brackets or something like specific, that's how you guys can set it up. It doesn't really affect the logic here. Let's continue. So we have that, and if it's successful, then we want to navigate the user, return to the data that we just got back. That is URL. Cool. By the way, we might not want to send all of this here to the front end. You guys might want to, just send, the URL probably, and obviously the status. That's it. Let's continue. So we don't want to open that on a new tab, and as well, we cannot test it here on, but you can see the function was activated, like it ran, and obviously we are not being redirected because Stripe doesn't work like that. This is not something that we can test on Stripe. What we can do is, after we have done the successful payment, we need to, let's just do it here from the backend, right? Checkout setup. Let's run this. Let's copy this URL. By the way, after this setup, after we have, we are being redirected here. Before we continue, you guys need to go here into Stripe. This is something that I forgot, is you guys need to go to developers, and you guys need to set up the webhook. This is the first one. A Stripe webhook here. This will receive all of the checkout sessions. By the way, let me just clean this. Update details. We just want to receive the completed API endpoints. This is what we want to receive. Yep. Not the failed ones. We just want to receive the completed ones. Something, my suggestion is, if you guys are going to handle webhooks, please do it separately. Success states on one, error states on another one, just to keep it clean. There's no need to create conditionals to make it complex when you guys can have multiple webhooks to receive the data from Stripe for successful states or for failed statements. By the way, we're not doing any error webhooks right here, or logic there. We're just setting up for successful statements. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's continue here. How do you create a webhook here? Pretty straightforward. You go to developer, webhook, add endpoint, and then you can just set your Xano endpoint, and then you can add, which type of events you want to listen to. Pretty straightforward. But now, I will pause here the video for a second, and we will continue in a minute with the next steps. Okay, guys, so we will just copy this endpoint. we will paste it here, and now we will go through the setup flow. So we will just save our credit card details, and after, as we already set our webhook with Stripe, after this checkout session was successful, take a look at the time. The time is 7:21. You guys don't see that, but 7:21 p.m. And if I take a look to my webhook here, right here, I will go to request history. Yeah, 7:21 p.m. Just got that response back instantly, because this is how webhooks work. So we have all of this data, right? And we have quite a few important details here: setup intent and the customer ID. These two important things right here. Once we have saved the credit card details and we have created the user on Stripe, we will then reference the user here by the client reference ID. Wait, let me just show you what is that. So whenever we were creating the checkout session, we're sending the client reference ID. If I go here into my input, and if I go to data object, I must see the client reference ID right here. And this is our ID in Xano, in our user database. So that's how we're referencing the user. We're setting the customer ID from Stripe. Then we are making an API request to the setup intent in order, because inside the setup intent, it's the payment method ID. Once we make the request to get the setup intent, we will get the payment ID, and we will create a, this is not necessary. I'm just making it so it's easier for, just to reference the values here. I have created a customer variable with the value of the customer ID, and I have created a payment method with the value of the payment method ID. Pretty much what I just do then is attach the payment method to the user, and then after that we just as well set that payment method that we just created as the default payment method. The reason why we are creating as a default payment method is to be able to treat it really simple from the front end. In order to make a subscription, right, with the save payment methods that you have, without selecting one, is to have a default one. If you have a default payment method, then you don't need to select any payment method from the front end. But let's say we don't set this as a default payment method. Whenever I create a subscription, I need to specify which payment method I want to use. And that's another flow, right? This is like Amazon, right? Amazon allows you to select which payment method you want. But some applications don't. You just set like a default payment method, like Netflix, right? Netflix don't ask you to add like a second payment method, right? They will just have one payment method, and it will be set by default, and they will just charge you each month. So that's how it works. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so we have set the customer user ID to the user table, and we have as well attached the payment method to the user on Stripe. Great. Next step. After that's successful, we are redirected to the page number 3, step number 3. How? Because once again, as I showed you guys in the checkout setup, the redirect URL is the step number 3. So let's continue here. Let's just try it. I will need to test it from the live side. We will do it in a minute here. So that's pretty much it. We will request the checkout here, and after the request, we will just be redirected. From there, we will just follow we'll add the card details, and we will be redirected to step number 3, where we at right now. Now, step number 3, what we need to do here? We need to render the information, and then we need to subscribe to the Stripe, or to the product. Let's do it. So first of all, let's render the details here. How are we doing that? So this is a really simple API request. Once again, customer payment methods. We're just literally getting the payment methods. These are really basic endpoint that Stripe has that allows you to get all the payment methods from a user. As we can see, it's limited to 3 by default. I just literally copy the curl from the Stripe and paste it here. And it's pretty straightforward. You guys need to follow. As I say, I will share all the snippets. So what is the response that we get from here? Let me just run it. As you can see, the response that I'm setting is just the data, the array of payment methods. So as you guys can see, even though if I show you this, like all this here, it's fine. There is no, important details here. And as well, this is the test data. So as you can see, we have the last 4 digits. And this is exactly what like Webflow show us, on our, payment billing, our billing tab. So yeah, we have the expiration year, month for each credit card. We have the brand. So we have the data that we need. So we will just copy this API endpoint, like the last part of the API endpoint, and we'll create a new request. This will be, let's call it get payment methods, something like that. Stripe with tutorial. Let's return the last part of the endpoint. Let's select the get method. Once again, we're not sending any inputs, just the authorization token. Return bearer space plus the O token. Fantastic. Let's continue. Okay, cool. Next step. Next step will be to run it right here, because this will load on page load. So this will happen on page load. So cool, we got the data. Now let's just do it. So we have here I don't know, low payment methods, right? Something like that. I always suggest to be really descriptive, guys. This is just like client first, right? The idea for every single request, please make sure that you have as many folders as possible as you can, so you can be really granular and organized on your project here. This is super important for scalability for the future of your web application organization on your development here in Wiz. The same thing for Xano as well. Let's just do event, page start loading, conditional, return. We need to make sure this is the path where we are right now, because if we're on this page, we should already have, the payment details. Obviously, we're not sending any type of access control here on this side. This is just, as I said, a basic setup. So perform request, we want to get the payment methods. So now, not only that, we want to now render payment methods. Now, element. So this is payment method item. By the way, this is a suggestion as well, a really good idea to all the elements that you are going to render, call them item, just like Webflow, right? With a collections list. It seems to work for me, so it's just a suggestion. We are going to render the data, and we have already a variable here called payment methods index. Cool. Once again, really descriptive. Now we want to set the card brand, probably. Yeah, card brand, and this is going to be brand. Nope. How is it called? Card type. Okay. Card type, set text, plain text, return. This is a trick, by the way, something that you guys should always do. By the way, I'm not saving any actions here in this setup. You guys can probably, run a function after the request, probably as well, just to have as less actions as possible, and then you can reference. Yeah, there is some easier ways, I guess, to do it. I guess, well, whenever you're rendering something with Wiz, it might be a little more complex. But yeah, let's continue here. I don't want to get too granular with saving actions or anything like that. This is just pretty straightforward development. So first of all, brand right here. Let's replace the index. What else do we need here? So we need as well the last 4 digits. So let's just get all of that. We need a month as well, the year. We want to get the last 4 digits. Yeah. What else? Expiration date, yeah, month, year, and the last 4 digits. Yeah, that's it. We want to as well get the variables. Copy this. And yeah, I want to rename, change all occurrences. And cool, we have changed completely all of those. So now we can just copy this and duplicate it. And now we can say last 4 digits, right? Card number. Cool, let's continue. Then we have expiration date. Cool, and then we can set this up. So I guess it should make sense to have something like this, right? Refresh the page. Cool, we have the data, fantastic. Let's continue. By the way, we could have like an uppercase letter here. I don't know. We have so many options here, but let's continue. Now we are rendering the credit card details. What is the next step? Subscribe. Now that we have, the payment method attached to our user on Stripe, now we can create a subscription or make a payment or literally anything that we want, because we already have the card details, from the client. So let's just do it. Let's just go here into Xano. Let's go here into Stripe, this endpoint that we're going to use, subscribe. Literally, once again, we're not sending any inputs. We're just getting the user, and we are just creating a subscription with the custom ID and with the item that they have subscribed to. This is like, this is the product ID that we have created on Stripe. And that's it. Once that happens, it will send the data to the webhook that only accepts successful payments, successful subscriptions. So if the data gets here, it means that it has been successful, and then we can get the data from the webhook. And pretty much, we don't even need to get the data from the webhook. We could just update. Well, no, we need to get the data of the webhook, obviously, because we need to reference the ID that have been, the user that have been updated, right? Or has already subscribed. So we just change that to be true. That's subscribe Boolean. That's pretty much it. So the only thing that we need to worry about is making this post request from Wized to Xano all the way to Stripe. So let's go here. Let's create a new request. Select the folder Stripe. Let's call it subscribe, lowercase. With tutorial, return, paste that in, post, no URL parameters. Once again, authorization, we are going to return the bird space plus the cookie. Where is it? Okay, fantastic. We have our old token. Let's continue. Yeah, I will say now we just need to make a few things here. So step 3. This should have been part of building info. My mistake. Build info. Now, next step, it's subscribe. It should be called like request or something like that. Yeah, I think this is something that everyone should do, is to reference the actions that are triggering a request, for sure. But let's just do request, subscribe, element. It will be subscribe button, or this is subscribe form. Yep, subscription form. On event, submit, prevent default, perform request, subscribe. By the way, I'm not going to set any error states or anything like that. We could for sure do that. On event, subscribe, and now we need to set for example, loading state, right? So subscription button or subscribe button, set class is loading once again, return, subscribe is requesting. Fantastic. What else? Next step. It's no, nothing. Well, we want to change here this text, right? So we will do something here. You are call it subscription text, I guess. Subscription status. right? Text, set text, plain text, return here. So this is how it's going to work. So if the user is already subscribed, right? So I will do, where's the get user? Or yeah, oh, I don't have the get user request. Oh, no way. Yep, I haven't set it up. My mistake, guys. Let's create a new one called get user. We need to do that on each step. So I won't set a conditional here. Oh wait, this is, I think this is auth me. Yeah, auth/me. It's get request if I'm not wrong. Auth me, yep, we're good. Sending the API, yep, and let's run this. Okay, so this request, let me just fix that right now. Let's call it low user. I won't even add a folder here. Event page start loading. I will load it in every single page just because of testing, right? I won't set any conditionals. Perform request, get user. Okay, cool. So in each page, we're getting the user. What else? Subscription status. Return if get user that subscribe equals. So we don't need the return first. If equals true. So we want to return you are subscribed. Otherwise, we want to return you are not subscribed. Okay, cool. But obviously, there's a thing here. How does the subscription happen, right? So we make an API request to Stripe. Stripe then will send the data back to the webhook to Xano, and then after that we will update the status of the user. So then we have an issue there here. We have an issue because we don't have live data in Xano yet, so there's no way for us to make this change live. So we kind of need to trigger the request. So I guess we can do different things here. What I'm going to do is, the request from Stripe will give you a data back, so I can do something there. So if I just run this right now, directly, if I just subscribe now, literally. As you can see, we got a successful response probably. Yep, we did. So what I can do is subscription status, return if equals true, or even though if this equals false, I want to say, hey, if status equals 200, oh, but this is the thing. Yep. Now I can refresh this. Yeah, we should be good. And now let me just set it up once again. Let me just remove my subscription from my table here from my user. So now if I refresh the page, oh yeah, we have an error. That's what I was thinking. So let me just see. This is null by default. This value is null right now because response that status doesn't exist. Data that as you can see, subscribe response that status doesn't exist. It only exists subscribe data. So we need to fix this. What I'm going to do is create a new action here. It will be after request. After request, let's just call after request. Event request finishes, subscribe conditional if return status equals 200. Then we want to set a variable. This will be the payment. No, this is the subscribe variable, and we will return a value of true. By default, the subscribe variable, this is something that I created before the tutorial, is a false value and it's computed so it can be updated. So by default it's false, but now if you have requested a subscription after the request, we will just set it to be true. And now here in the status, we can say, or your user is subscribed, or the variable equals true. Let me just add the parenthesis here, or the variable that we just created equals true. So as you can see, I'm not subscribed right now. The text appears out now, and then if I just click here, I'm subscribed. Cool, because it went successfully, and yeah, has all worked properly. Fantastic. So this is how you guys set it up. I know it's been a long tutorial. Once again, guys, this is really flexible. You know, this setup could really change for your web application, but this is just the basic on how you could, structure the subscription flow with Stripe. I hope you guys like it, and I hope you guys learned something today. Have a good one.